I often see people come to me absolutely desperate about their blood pressure. They're on 2 medications, 3 medications, sometimes even 4 or 5 different pills, and yet their blood pressure remains stubbornly high. And I want you to understand something very important today. There is one thing in your body, one system that when it's switched on, keeps your blood pressure elevated, no matter what medications you're taking. And when you learn to turn it off, everything changes. Now, I've been teaching natural health for many years, and I can tell you that 99% of people have never been told about this. Your doctor hasn't explained it. The pharmaceutical companies certainly don't want you to know about it. But I'm going to share it with you today because you deserve to understand how your own body works. Let me tell you about a woman I'll call Patricia. She was 68 years old when she came to one of my talks. She had been on blood pressure medication for 8 years. Started with 1 pill, then her doctor added another, then another. By the time I met her, she was taking 4 different medications every single day, and her blood pressure was still 174/98. She was frustrated, frightened, and felt like her body had betrayed her. Patricia said to me, "Barbara, I'm doing everything they tell me. I take every pill exactly as prescribed. I've cut out salt. I try to exercise. Why won't my blood pressure come down?" And I asked her a question that surprised her. I said, "Patricia, tell me about your stress. Tell me about your worry. Tell me what your mind is doing all day long." And you know what she told me? She said she woke up every morning with her mind already racing, worrying about her health, worrying about money, worrying about her children and grandchildren. She'd lie in bed feeling her heart pounding before she even stood up. Then she'd turn on the news and spend an hour getting upset about everything happening in the world. She'd argue with her husband over small things. She'd check her blood pressure multiple times a day, and seeing it high would make her more anxious, which would make it go even higher. Patricia was living in a constant state of stress, and that stress was keeping a very specific system in her body switched on. Let me explain what this system is and why it matters so much for your blood pressure. Your body has what I call an emergency alarm system. It's designed to activate when you're in danger, when you need to run away from something threatening, or fight for your survival. This system is called the sympathetic nervous system, and when it switches on, it does something very powerful to your cardiovascular system. You see, when this system activates, your body releases stress hormones called adrenaline and noradrenaline. These hormones make your heart beat faster and harder. They cause your blood vessels to tighten up and constrict. This increases resistance, which means your heart has to pump harder to push blood through. Your blood pressure goes up immediately. Now, this system was designed by our Creator to work in a very specific way. It switches on during brief moments of danger. You handle the emergency, and then it switches off again. That's how it's meant to function. Brief activation, then rest. But here's what's happening in modern life. This emergency system is staying switched on all day long. Constant worry, constant stress, constant fear, constant upset from the news, from arguments, from anxiety about health. The system never gets to turn off. And when your sympathetic nervous system stays activated chronically, your blood pressure stays elevated, no matter how many medications you take. Let me help you understand why. When your sympathetic system is running constantly, it's working through 6 different mechanisms simultaneously to raise your blood pressure. Your medications might be able to block 1 or 2 of these mechanisms, but they cannot block all 6. The net result is your pressure stays high. I want you to think about this. Your body is like a house with an alarm system. When the alarm goes off, lights flash, sirens sound, everything goes into emergency mode. That's appropriate if there's an actual intruder. But imagine if that alarm system got stuck in the on position. It would keep blaring day and night, even though there's no real danger. That's what's happening with your sympathetic nervous system. Now I'm going to teach you how to turn this system off. I'm going to share 7 techniques that work with your body's natural design to calm this emergency response. These aren't just relaxation tips. These are physiological interventions that measurably shift your nervous system from stress mode into rest mode. The first technique I want to share with you is something I call the cold water face reset. This works through a reflex that's built into every human being. When you immerse your face in cold water, It triggers an ancient survival mechanism. Your body thinks you're diving underwater, and it immediately switches from emergency mode into conservation mode. Here's how you do this. Fill a large bowl with the coldest water you can get from your tap. Add ice if you have some. When you feel your blood pressure spiking, when you feel that stress and anxiety building, I want you to take a deep breath, bend over that bowl, and plunge your face into the cold water. Keep your face submerged for about 15 seconds, then come up for air. What happens in those 15 seconds is remarkable. Your heart rate drops dramatically, often by 20 or 30 beats per minute. Your blood vessels relax. Your entire nervous system shifts from sympathetic dominance to parasympathetic dominance. The parasympathetic system is your rest and digest system. It's the opposite of the emergency system. I've seen this work so many times. People who were panicking, whose blood pressure had spiked to 180, 190, they do this cold water technique, and within minutes their pressure drops by 20, 30, even 40 points. It's one of the fastest ways to turn off that sympathetic switch. Now, the second technique is what I call the extended exhale breath. You see, your breath is directly connected to your nervous system. When you breathe in, your sympathetic system activates slightly. When you breathe out, your parasympathetic system activates. So if you make your exhale longer than your inhale, you're training your body to stay in that calm rest mode. Here's the pattern I want you to use. Breathe in through your nose for a count of 4, then hold your breath for a count of 7, then breathe out through your mouth for a count of 8. This specific timing is important. The long exhale, twice as long as the inhale, strongly activates your vagus nerve. That's the main nerve of your parasympathetic system. Do this pattern 4 times, just 4 breath cycles. It takes less than 2 minutes, and you'll feel your entire body calming down. Your heart rate will slow, your blood pressure will drop, the anxiety will decrease. I remember a man named George who learnt this technique at one of my seminars. He would get so anxious about his blood pressure that he'd have panic attacks. His pressure would spike to dangerous levels. I taught him this breathing pattern, and he started using it every time he felt panic beginning. Within weeks, he'd gained control over those spikes. He had a tool he could use anywhere, anytime. The third technique is about how you're using your muscles. Most people with chronic high blood pressure are carrying tension in their bodies constantly. Their shoulders are tight, their jaw is clenched, their whole body is held in a state of tension, and that physical tension keeps the sympathetic system activated. I want you to do what I call the tension release practice. You're going to systematically tense and then release each muscle group in your body. But here's the key. When you tense the muscle, breathe in. This activates sympathetic. Then when you release the muscle, breathe out slowly. This activates parasympathetic. You're training your body to recognize the difference between these two states. Start with your feet. Curl your toes tight while breathing in for 5 seconds. Then release completely while breathing out for 10 seconds. Do the same with your calves, your thighs, your buttocks, your abdomen, your chest, your arms, your shoulders, your neck, your face. The whole sequence takes about 10 minutes. Do this every evening before bed. It releases all the tension you've accumulated during the day, and it teaches your nervous system how to shift from stress mode into rest mode. Over time, you develop conscious control over that switch. Now, the fourth technique is the most important one for long-term blood pressure control. It's something I call coherent breathing. This is a daily practice that resets your autonomic nervous system over weeks and months. Here's what you do. Sit comfortably and breathe at a very specific rate. 6 breaths per minute. That means 5 seconds breathing in, 5 seconds breathing out, continuously for 20 minutes. You can use a timer or an app to help you keep the rhythm. What happens when you breathe at this exact rate is truly remarkable. Your heart rate variation synchronizes with your breathing. Heart rate goes up slightly as you breathe in, down slightly as you breathe out. This creates a beautiful wave-like pattern that we call coherence. When you practice this breathing for 20 minutes every single day, you're training your autonomic nervous system. You're increasing something called heart rate variability, which is a measure of how flexible and responsive your nervous system is. High heart rate variability means good health, Low heart rate variability means your nervous system is stuck in stress mode. The research on this is overwhelming. 20 minutes of coherent breathing daily can reduce blood pressure by 10 to 15 points over 2 to 3 months. That's equivalent to adding a blood pressure medication, except there are no side effects. Only benefits. I recommend doing this first thing in the morning before you look at your phone or turn on the news. Make it your morning reset. Your nervous system will thank you. The fifth technique is about strengthening your vagus nerve. Think of your vagus nerve as a muscle. The more you activate it, the stronger it gets. And a strong vagus nerve means powerful control over your blood pressure. One of the best ways to strengthen the vagus nerve is through what I call empty lung breath holds. Here's how you do it. Breathe out completely, emptying your lungs, then hold your breath with empty lungs for as long as you comfortably can. Not until you're gasping, just until you feel a strong urge to breathe. When you finally breathe in, your vagus nerve activates powerfully. It's responding to the carbon dioxide buildup and the relief of breathing. This activation is like doing a strengthening exercise for your vagus nerve. Do 5 breath holds every day. Over weeks, your baseline vagal tone increases. Your resting heart rate drops. Your blood pressure control improves. It's a simple practice with profound effects. Now, the sixth technique is about light exposure and your body's internal clock. Most people don't realize that your blood pressure is supposed to follow a daily rhythm. It should be higher during the day when you're active and lower at night during sleep. But in people with chronic high blood pressure, this rhythm is disrupted. Your internal clock is set primarily by light exposure. When bright light hits your eyes in the morning, it tells your brain it's daytime. When light decreases in the evening, it signals nighttime. But most people get this backwards. They don't get enough bright light in the morning, and they get too much bright light from screens in the evening. This confuses the body clock. Here's what I want you to do. Within 30 minutes of waking up, go outside, get 10 to 30 minutes of natural light exposure. Even on a cloudy day, outdoor light is much brighter than indoor light. This sets your internal clock strongly for daytime. Then in the evening, 2 to 3 hours before bed, reduce your light exposure. Dim the lights, use warm-colored bulbs, turn off bright screens. This tells your body that nighttime is approaching. When you do this consistently every single day, your body's natural blood pressure rhythm starts to restore. Your pressure dips properly during sleep, which gives your heart and blood vessels time to rest and repair. The seventh technique is about when you eat. Your eating pattern also affects your internal clock. When you eat, it signals activity and daytime. When you're fasting, it signals rest and nighttime. Most people eat across a very long window, from breakfast early in the morning to snacking late at night. This keeps sending daytime signals for 16 hours or more. Your body never gets a clear nighttime signal. I recommend compressing your eating into a 10 to 12-hour window. If you eat breakfast at 7 in the morning, finish dinner by 6 or 7 in the evening, no eating after that. This creates a 12-hour fasting period overnight. During this fasting period, your sympathetic system can decrease properly. Your parasympathetic system dominates. This is essential for healthy blood pressure dipping during sleep. Now let me bring all of this together for you. The sympathetic nervous system is the one switch that's keeping your blood pressure elevated. When it stays turned on all day, every day, no amount of medication can fully control your pressure. These 7 techniques give you the power to turn that switch off. The cold water face reset for immediate spikes, the extended exhale breathing for acute stress, the tension release practice for daily accumulated stress, the coherent breathing for long-term nervous system retraining, the vagal nerve strengthening for better baseline control, the light exposure for circadian rhythm restoration, and the eating window for nighttime parasympathetic dominance. You don't need to do all of these at once. Start with 1 or 2 that resonate with you. Maybe you begin with the morning coherent breathing. Just 20 minutes a day. Add the evening tension release practice. Then gradually incorporate the others as they become habits. I want you to understand something very important. These techniques don't replace your medications. Please don't stop taking your pills. What these techniques do is remove the sympathetic override that's been fighting against your medications. As your pressure comes down with these practices, work with your doctor to reduce medications safely, but you need to be consistent. Your body didn't develop high blood pressure overnight, and it won't resolve overnight. Give these techniques at least 2 to 3 months of daily practice. That's how long it takes for your nervous system to truly reset. I've seen this work in so many people over the years. People who were on 4, 5, 6 medications with blood pressure that wouldn't budge. They learn these techniques, they practice them daily, and within months their pressure drops, medications are reduced, quality of life improves dramatically. But beyond the numbers, what people value most is the sense of control. For years they felt like victims of their blood pressure. Now they have tools, they have agency, they can influence their own health. Your body was designed to heal. Your body wants to be in balance, but you have to work with your body's natural design, not against it. You have to turn off that emergency alarm system that's been blaring for years. I want to encourage you today. You're not powerless. You're not a victim of your blood pressure. You have within you the ability to influence this one switch, this sympathetic nervous system, and when you learn to turn it off, everything changes. Start today. Choose one technique. Practice it consistently. Watch what happens to your blood pressure over the coming weeks and months. Your body will respond. It always does when we work with it properly. Take care of yourself. Honor the body you've been given, and trust in its remarkable capacity to heal when given the right conditions.